Here we go, recording. I'm going to start the view program on my robot on the left and sensorCode version 3.5 on the right. I'm not going to use talking on this video. I'm simply going to use connect. This is already set up. I connect, I turn on the connection, and there you see the data coming through on the left. And now I'm going to use azimuth as an example sensor for this demonstration. So I'm going to turn on azimuth briefly. You can see a record's come through there. If I move the phone very slightly, turn it off again. Now, if I look at the record, in fact, I've got an entire record here. This is all the sensor data has come through as JSON, and you can see the two values there. Now, I think one of the comments has already come back on the review saying, hey, I don't really want all this JSON. I think you're going to overload my robot. So I'm going to go back. We're going to look at settings. And we can see what we can do to reduce that. So we go to settings and we look at variable. So I'm going to turn on variable, go back to my application, it reconnects again, and this time when I turn on azimuth, very briefly, okay, got a couple of readings there, you'll notice a difference. You notice the word is missing from the very beginning of the record, and if we scroll to the right we'll see we've immediately got magnetic north and true north, because this time the only sensors data it's given us is the direction. It's not given us any of the other fields we were getting previously. Okay, so we're actually getting, that's what happens when you turn variable on, you only get the sensor that's actually with values on. But again, that's too much data potentially, and useful for debugging and setting up your robot, understanding what's happening. Maybe you want even less. Now, I'm going to turn that off again. I'm going to go back to settings, and I'm going to turn on raw. Okay, now a caveat here, I would say what raw does is it strips out alphabetic information from the record. That's how it gets rid of the JSON. Okay, so this doesn't work with some of the fields. In particular, it won't work with word and it won't work with proximity. But it works with the other ones that actually deliver figures. Okay, go back to the application. We see we reconnect. I'm going to go to azimuth. I'm going to turn it on, and there we go. Quickly turn it off so we don't get too much data. And there we have it. We have, again, the ID. This time it's not in hexadecimal, it's in decimal. This is because it would have stripped the letters out if it had sent it in hexadecimal. And I have the two values. I have the magnetic north and the true north. But I have just the figures. Okay, so you can see it's essentially the same values, but just the figures. Now, that's what those two variables actually mean. I'm going to go back. We'll have another quick look at the last one here. And I'm going to go back to settings. Go to settings. I'm going to turn raw back off again. I'm going to leave variable on, and I'm going to turn on pulse. Okay. Go back to the program. We reconnect, and immediately you see a record coming through. Okay. I'm going to turn on azimuth. I'm going to turn it on, and this time we see azimuth coming through. You can just about see the beginning of the record direction. Now, because it's pulsing on my interface on the left, it's difficult for me to scroll across. Here we go. Go back on again. So it's pulsing the record. We've got variable on. It only pulses the record we want. Now, there's one other parameter in here. Normally, I only get one record per refresh rate. So the refresh rate I showed you in settings, it's been set to 1 second. So I'm getting one direction every 1 second, even if it changes drastically. Okay. Now, if I switch on auxiliary here and I move the phone, I'm actually going to get more than 1 second, because with auxiliary on, it gives you every single record when it changes. And there you have it, really. That's your options with the sensors and the different types of output. In brief, what we get is normally we'd get a full JSON record. We can reduce that to say, no, only send me the JSON that's applicable to the sensors that are changing. You could reduce that further and say, no, only send me the values that I'm actually seeing. So you get 3 different layers of information if you want. And in terms of getting the information on a regular basis, you can have 1 per second. And if you turn on the auxiliary switch, you can actually have data on a, this has changed, send it immediately. And there you have it.